Nothing you experience is by chance. Everything you go through has a hidden purpose. Written and published by Q Vibe. Have you ever wondered why certain things happen in your life just when you least expect them? Perhaps a loss that seemed unbearable. An unexpected change that turned everything upside down. Or an encounter that marked a turning point. Nothing happens randomly. Every experience, painful or luminous, is part of a larger tapestry that invites you to grow. On this journey, we will discover the invisible laws that govern your life. Impermanence, which reminds you that everything changes. Cause and effect, which shows how every action leaves a mark. Attachment, which binds you to suffering. And acceptance, which opens the doors to serenity. You will see how even chaos has meaning, how pain is a teacher, and how every person who enters or leaves your life leaves a lesson. Stay with me, because what you're about to read isn't empty theory, but a map to transform how you see reality. A reminder that every moment, yes, even this one, holds an opportunity to awaken to a more conscious, freer, and stronger version of yourself. Chapter 1. The Law of Impermanence. Understanding constant change. Nothing in life is permanent. Everything changes. The seasons, your emotions, your relationships, even your own body. Suffering arises when you resist this truth. You wish that happy moments would last forever and that difficulties would disappear immediately. But life is a constantly moving river. It's not about clinging or fighting, but about learning to accept each stage with serenity. Think of a river. It doesn't stop or cling to a form. It flows. A tree loses its leaves in autumn, but it doesn't suffer because it knows that spring will bring new buds. You too can learn to let go of what no longer serves you, trusting that every change opens the door to a new stage of growth. Accepting impermanence liberates you. It allows you to enjoy the present without fear of losing it, and to face challenges with the certainty that they too will pass. Everything is in transformation. Every difficult moment is just another step on the path, not your final destination. True peace lies not in avoiding change, but in flowing with it. When you stop fighting against reality and learn to live without attachment, you discover a tranquility that depends not on what happens outside, but on what you build within. Chapter 2. Cause and Effect. The impact on our daily lives. Nothing happens by chance. Every action, every word, and every thought you utter generates a consequence, even if you don't notice it immediately. It is a natural law, as inevitable as gravity. Everything you do creates energy that sooner or later returns to you in some way. Imagine throwing a stone into a lake. The ripples spread in all directions, disturbing the water's surface. Similarly, your actions generate ripples in your life and in the lives of others. Some manifest immediately, others take years to appear. But one thing is certain: everything you do leaves a mark. And it's not just about what you do, but also about what you think and feel. If you live trapped in hatred and resentment, even if you don't express it, that energy consumes you and shapes your reality. On the other hand, if you cultivate patience and compassion, even when facing difficulties, you will create an atmosphere of peace around you. The quality of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts and actions. Sometimes it seems that those who do wrong never pay a price, while others who do good suffer injustices. This may seem contradictory, but it isn't. Think of a seed. Some germinate quickly, others take years to bear fruit. The important thing is to remember that every action has an effect, even if you don't see it at the time. And here something crucial comes into play: personal responsibility. It's easy to blame others or circumstances, But if you look deeper, you'll discover how your own decisions have contributed to your present. This isn't punishment, it's power. Because if your actions have created part of what you're experiencing today, then your new actions can transform your tomorrow. This doesn't mean you should punish yourself or wallow in guilt. It means recognizing something more powerful, that you have the ability to change your life if you change your thoughts and actions. Think about this. When you sow apple seeds, you don't harvest pears. When you plant thorns, don't expect flowers. Life works the same way. What you choose today is the seed of what you will experience tomorrow. You are not trapped in an unchangeable destiny. Every decision is an opportunity to transform your path. If yesterday you caused pain to others or to yourself, today you can choose differently. Every word, every gesture, every thought is a force that builds or destroys. Imagine a thought of hatred. It seems small, but if you let it grow, it becomes hurtful words and then actions that wound. Now think of a thought of gratitude. It changes the way you speak, softens your gestures, and creates harmony around you. Your life is shaped on 3 fronts: what you think, what you say, and what you do. If you observe honestly, you will discover patterns. Perhaps you always respond with anger to a problem, and that reaction creates tension around you, attracting more conflict. But if you choose to respond calmly, you break the cycle and create a different environment, not just for you, but also for those around you. Every choice impacts your family, your community, your world. Intention is key. Helping someone out of self-interest is not the same as truly helping them. The outward action may be identical, but the energy you generate changes everything. Throughout your life, you have accumulated experiences, mistakes, and successes. But none of that defines you forever. Every day is a new opportunity to sow something better. Perhaps you can start with the simplest things: speaking more kindly, acting honestly, lending a hand without expecting anything in return. A single drop of water in a lake creates ripples that expand endlessly. That's how every small positive act works. Remember, you are the creator of your life. You can't control everything that happens, but you can decide how to respond. And that decision changes everything. When you accept the natural law of cause and effect, you stop being a victim of life and begin to take responsibility for it. That gives you power. It gives you peace. It gives you confidence. Stop asking yourself, why is this happening to me? And start asking yourself, what can I learn from this? Every obstacle thus becomes a teacher. Every mistake, a lesson. What you do returns to you, not as punishment or reward, but as the inevitable consequence of your choices. Live with that awareness, and your steps will become wiser. You will discover that your path can not only be more fulfilling, but also more harmonious. Chapter 3. Attachment and Suffering. Learning to let go. Pain arises when you cling. You hold on to people, objects, emotions, or even your own ideas as if they were lifelines, convinced that your happiness lies there. But nothing remains. Everything changes. And when what you want transforms or disappears, the wound arrives. The real problem with attachment is that it makes you dependent on external things. You think that without that relationship, without that job, without certain conditions, you can't be at peace. Wrong. As long as you base your peace on what you can't control, you're doomed to suffer. Letting go isn't about ceasing to love or value. It's about learning to enjoy without possessing, to live in the present without demanding it last forever. Free love doesn't seek to control, doesn't seek to hold on. It simply flows. When you decide to let go, you discover a new, unexpected freedom. Suddenly, you realize you can live lighter, without the constant anxiety of trying to fix what is inherently changeable. True peace is born there. When you accept that you can't hold on to what is destined to move, and you understand that letting go is choosing your own fulfillment. Chapter 4. The Wisdom of Acceptance. Flowing with life. Life almost never follows the script you imagined. From childhood, we're taught to fight for what we want, to force our course, to resist every time something goes astray. But who taught you to accept? Very few. And yet, acceptance is one of the master keys to living peacefully. Accepting isn't surrendering or resigning yourself, nor is it ceasing to act. It's seeing reality as it is, without filters, without judgment, without fighting against it. Suffering doesn't arise solely from what happens, but from your resistance. You get frustrated when someone doesn't act as you expect. You get angry when a plan goes awry. You cling to the past when life changes, and life goes on with or without your permission. Resisting only multiplies the pain. Accepting brings you peace. Nothing happens without a reason, even if you don't understand it at the time. Every experience brings a lesson. Instead of asking yourself, "Why me?" dare to ask, "What can I learn from this?" Sometimes, what seems like a misfortune today reveals itself tomorrow as the opportunity you needed. What you celebrate today may become a burden tomorrow. Only time reveals the whole picture. Acceptance doesn't mean standing idly by. If you can change something, do it. If you can't, fighting it only wears you down. Wisdom lies in distinguishing one from the other. How often do you suffer because you want someone to be different, to love more, to think like you, to act according to your script? But each person has their own path, their own strengths and weaknesses. When you stop trying to change them, your relationships breathe and you find peace. Acceptance isn't about approving the unacceptable. If someone hurts you, you don't have to tolerate it, but you can accept that person as they are, and then decide how to respond without surrendering your peace to them. Acceptance also means embracing yourself, because often you are your own worst critic. You punish yourself, you compare yourself to others, you wish you were different. That's where self-compassion comes in. It doesn't mean you stop growing, it means you stop fighting with yourself and choose to treat yourself with kindness. Life will bring you losses, failures, and disappointments. But it will also bring you love, achievements, and new beginnings. Serenity doesn't come from only having the good and avoiding the bad, but from embracing both with the same calm. When you achieve this, you discover a peace that doesn't depend on what happens outside, but on the strength you've cultivated within. Chapter 5. Hidden Lessons. Finding meaning in adversity. Accepting life as it is frees you from the invisible burden of resistance. It allows you to let go of the heavy backpack of constant struggle and embrace each moment with gratitude. When you stop fighting with reality, you discover that happiness isn't about controlling every detail, but about flowing with what life puts before you. Each day is an invitation to practice this attitude, accepting traffic without losing your composure, accepting the rain even if it ruins your plans, accepting that the people around you have their own rhythm and processes. Over time, this practice cultivates in you the ability to face major changes with wisdom and tranquility. True freedom doesn't come from controlling the world, but from learning to move with it. Acceptance offers you that freedom to live with lightness, confidence, and inner peace. Throughout life, you will face dark moments, that seems senseless. Losses, failures, illnesses, conflicts. Every adversity brings with it a lesson, even if you don't always see it immediately. When something doesn't go as planned, it's normal to react with anger or sadness. But if you observe carefully, you will discover that even in those moments, there is a hidden teaching. Nothing you experience is useless if you learn to transform suffering into wisdom. Think of a caterpillar struggling to emerge from its cocoon. The effort is painful, but it is precisely that effort that strengthens its wings to fly. If someone interferes and makes things easier for you, your wings will never develop. The same is true for you. Difficulties are the training you need to move forward. Pain can be a harsh but powerful teacher if you choose to listen to it. It forces you to look inward, to question yourself, to grow. It shows you your weaknesses and gives you the option to transform them into strengths. Every challenge you face is a crossroads. Remain trapped in the pain or use it as fuel for rebirth. You don't always get what you want, but you always receive what you need to evolve. A broken relationship can teach you independence. A job failure can point you toward a new path. A health problem can remind you that it's time to take care of your body and mind. None of this is in vain if you choose to learn. Often, only with the passage of time do we come to understand why a difficulty was necessary. Something that seemed like a misfortune can become the best opportunity of your life. Trust that every obstacle has a purpose, even if you don't understand it right now. Instead of cursing the storm, ask yourself, what is this teaching me? Is it asking me for more patience? Is it showing me that I need to let go of control? Is it preparing me for something bigger? Pain, when you face it consciously, has the power to transform you. It's like fire that purifies metal. It burns away the unnecessary and reveals your true essence. Every difficult emotion points to an aspect of yourself that needs attention and healing. If criticism hurts you deeply, perhaps it's time to strengthen your self-esteem. If a loss leaves you devastated, perhaps it's time to learn to let go with love. Accepting adversity doesn't mean giving up. It means seeing them as teachers on your path. You can view each obstacle as a punishment or as an opportunity. How you interpret it will shape your experience. A simple yet powerful exercise. Write about the hardest moments you've lived through and analyze what you learned from them. You'll discover that, thanks to those battles, you developed resilience, compassion, or wisdom. Even the most painful events hold a purpose if you choose to view them with a learning perspective. The difference lies in the question you ask yourself. Stop saying, "Why me?" and start asking, "What for?" This shift in perspective radically alters your relationship with suffering. Life's lessons are never easy, but they are always valuable. Every experience, no matter how difficult, is preparing you for something greater. When you decide to see challenges as opportunities, you stop fearing them and begin to embrace them as an inevitable part of your evolution. Nothing happens by chance. Every difficult moment is a doorway to new understanding. You just need the courage to walk through it. Chapter 6. The Practice of Mindfulness. Living in the present. You will often remember what has already happened. Moments filled with nostalgia or regret. You will also project what is yet to come. Scenarios tinged with anxiety and expectation. But you almost never remain fully present in the only moment that exists, the now. And that is the key you forget time and time again. When you get caught up in memories, you relive old wounds that no longer exist. When you obsess over what will happen, you fabricate imaginary stories that may never occur. And in doing so, you raise your own stress level. Reality is only what happens here and now. This is the only place where you can act, feel, and fully experience life. Being present is not a luxury reserved for a select few. It's a way of life. It's choosing to pay full attention to everything you do, without getting swept away by the tide of automatic thoughts. Eating mindfully means truly savoring each bite, not just gulping it down without noticing. Listening mindfully means paying attention without preparing your response beforehand. Walking mindfully means feeling your steps, the contact with the ground, the breeze on your skin, instead of getting lost in thoughts that steal the moment. The problem is that almost all of us live in constant distraction. We check our phones while we talk. We think about work while we're with family. We go over worries while we eat. We're in one place, but our minds are somewhere else. This disconnection prevents us from enjoying life and increases our stress. Your mind is like a restless animal jumping from branch to branch without a break. You can train it. At first, it will be difficult. But with practice, you learn to observe your thoughts and choose where to direct your attention. A simple yet powerful exercise is to anchor yourself to your breath. Observe how the air enters and leaves your body. Each time your mind wanders, return to that point. This simple gesture strengthens your ability to concentrate. It's not about eliminating thoughts. It's about learning to observe them without getting caught up in them. Imagine your mind is a sky, and your thoughts are passing clouds. You don't need to hold on to them or make them disappear. Simply observe them and let them go. By practicing this, you will discover that many of your worries are unnecessary. You will notice that suffering arises when you become a prisoner of the past or the future. But by anchoring yourself in the present, you find a peace that doesn't depend on anything external. You also learn to respond instead of reacting. Often you act on impulse, anger, fear, frustration. But if you are present, a space for choice arises. That space changes everything. Instead of exploding automatically, you can act with calm and clarity. Every moment is an opportunity to awaken to life. You don't have to wait for a retreat or a special place. You can do it right now while washing your hands, drinking coffee, or listening to a bird sing. Life happens here, and every instant is a gift if you choose to appreciate it. Many people search for happiness as if it were in the distant future. When they have that job, that partner, that goal, but happiness isn't there. It's in how you live today. If you don't learn to be present, you'll always be chasing something that seems unattainable. Living with presence allows you to see the beauty in the everyday. It helps you enjoy the small details that often go unnoticed. It connects you with yourself on a deeper level. It doesn't mean there won't be problems, but it gives you the clarity you need to face them without getting bogged down in mental drama. Every moment is an opportunity to practice. Breathe consciously when you wake up. Listen attentively to those you love. Savor every meal with gratitude. Over time, these small actions transform into a habit that changes the way you live. Remember, being present isn't theory, it's practice. It's a real tool for finding peace amidst chaos. Life isn't about what happened or what will happen. It's here and now. And when you choose to live in the present, you understand that happiness isn't a distant goal, but an experience you can have right now. Chapter 7. Transforming the mind from pain to clarity. Your mind can be your best ally or your worst enemy. It's not what happens to you that determines your suffering, but how you interpret it. Every thought can become a chain or a key that unlocks the door to your freedom. If you learn to observe what's happening within you without being swept away, your life changes. Too often, you react automatically, almost without realizing that you have the power to choose your response. That instant, that second in which you decide how to act, is your greatest strength. Train yourself. Train your mind as you would train your body. With discipline, with consistency, with awareness. It's not about eliminating pain, but about understanding it, about seeing it as a sign that teaches you something about yourself. Every difficult emotion is an opportunity for growth. Every fear, every worry ceases to have power over you when you observe them without attachment. There, a freedom arises that doesn't depend on work, relationships, or money. It arises from within. Clarity is not a distant destination. It's a way of inhabiting your present. If you release the shackles of negative thoughts and cultivate inner peace, you don't just transform your mind, you transform your reality. Chapter 8. The hidden purpose of suffering. Pain touches us all. No one escapes loss, failure, or disappointment. But what truly sets us apart is not what we experience, but how we interpret it. Suffering is not a punishment or an injustice. It's a hidden teacher. Even if you initially reject it, every difficulty carries a hidden purpose. When something strikes you, your first reaction is to resist. You want it to disappear, for everything to go back to the way it was. But what if that pain isn't there to destroy you, but to transform you? Life's greatest lessons almost always come wrapped in difficulties. Like fire that purifies metal, problems strip away the unnecessary and reveal who you truly are. Suffering is inevitable, but prolonging it is up to you. Clinging to it makes it stronger. Resisting it magnifies it. Observing it without fear transforms it into wisdom. Consider this. If you focus solely on your wound, it consumes everything. But if you broaden your perspective, you discover it's part of a larger process. Change the question. Not, why is this happening to me? But what purpose does this serve? Often, what seemed like a tragedy turns out to be a blessing in disguise. Losing a job can open the door to your true calling. A breakup can teach you the value of self-care. A personal crisis can force you to see life with new eyes. It shows you which parts of yourself need healing and gives you the opportunity to grow. The next time you face a challenge, stop. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use it to move forward? What does it reveal about myself? Pain doesn't have to define you. If you accept its lessons, it ceases to be an enemy and becomes a tool. Every trial is another step on your path to a more conscious and fulfilling life. Chapter 9. Without chaos, there is no transformation. Comfort is seductive. It is a state we all pursue, but we rarely stop to see its true effect on us. When everything is under control, when life flows smoothly, we cling to the familiar. We avoid risk. We prefer safety. And that is where we get trapped. But life wasn't designed to keep you asleep in your comfort zone. Without chaos, there is no transformation. Crises, however painful, are the engine of change. They shake you up, force you to awaken, and push you to evolve. If you never had to face challenges, you would never develop new skills, never question your beliefs, never explore different paths. Imagine a seed. If it stayed on the surface, it would never become a tree. It needs to sink into the earth, break down from within, and make its way through the darkness before seeing the light. You function the same way. Without moments of difficulty, without internal ruptures, you would never reach your true potential. Think of the butterfly. To fly, it must fight against the resistance of its cocoon. If someone opens that cocoon prematurely, its wings don't strengthen, and it will never be able to fly. The same is true for you. You need the friction, the effort, the chaos that forces you to become stronger. Every challenge pushes you to adapt, to grow, to find new ways of facing life. Ask yourself less, why is this happening? And more, what change is this situation trying to bring about? Look at your past. Losses taught you the value of what you have. Failures made you stronger. Unexpected changes led you down paths you would never have consciously chosen. Accepting chaos isn't loving suffering. It's recognizing that it's part of the process. When you stop resisting and flow with what's happening, you find a strength within yourself that you didn't know existed. Life isn't about avoiding setbacks, but about learning to use them to your advantage. Every crisis is an invitation to evolve, and if you trust that process, you'll discover that, after the chaos, a new version of you always emerges. Stronger, more aware, freer. Chapter 10. The Invisible Order of Life. Sometimes you feel that life has no meaning. Obstacles appear without warning, plans fall apart, and the paths you chose stop working. You think you're on the wrong path. But there's something deeper you don't see. An invisible order that sustains everything. Nothing is accidental. Nothing happens out of place. That order is present in every detail. Look at it in nature. The seasons arrive at the precise moment. Rivers flow without resistance. Trees grow without haste. Nothing in nature demands explanation. It simply flows. But you, human being, insist that life conform to your expectations. And when it doesn't, you suffer. Think of a man caught in a storm at sea. He fights with all his might against the waves. But the more he struggles, the deeper he sinks. Only when he stops resisting and surrenders to the current does the sea gently carry him to shore. That's how the order of life works. Resistance multiplies the pain. Trust opens the way. This doesn't mean passivity or blind surrender. It means acting consciously, making decisions aligned with your most authentic nature. Often, suffering arises when you distance yourself from what truly matters. Life sends you signals. When something closes, it's because it no longer serves you. When something challenges you, it's because it's preparing you. When something is delayed, it's because it's not yet the right time. You can't accelerate a plant's blooming or bring forward the sunrise. Life has its own rhythm. Learning to trust that rhythm frees you from anxiety and frustration. When you understand that everything happens in its own time, you stop seeing difficulties as punishments and begin to see them as opportunities. Chapter 10. The Invisible Order of Life. The same is true for your personal processes. Often, you want immediate answers. You want the pain to end now. You want everything to change suddenly. But life has its own rhythm, and learning to trust that rhythm frees you from anxiety and frustration. When you understand that everything happens for a reason, you stop seeing difficulties as punishments and start seeing them as opportunities. If something isn't working, instead of blindly fighting against it, ask yourself a more helpful question. What is this situation trying to teach me? The answer doesn't always appear immediately. Often, only with time do you understand why something happened the way it did. But if you learn to trust that invisible order, you find peace, even in the midst of uncertainty. Each of us has a unique path. You can't compare yourself to others or force yourself to keep up with their pace. What's right for someone else may not be right for you. That's why it's vital to listen to your inner voice. Follow your intuition and be open to change. That's how you walk in harmony with yourself. You are not here by accident. Every experience, every person you meet, every decision you make, is part of a greater balance. And when you trust that everything comes in its own time, you stop living in fear and begin to live with purpose. Chapter 11. The Illusion of Control. From childhood, we are told repeatedly that we must take the reins of our lives. We are told that if we work hard, if we plan well, if we make the right decisions, everything will turn out as we expect. But sooner or later, life shows us the truth. There are things that simply escape your control. A relationship that seemed stable breaks down. A secure job vanishes. A perfect plan fails for no apparent reason. And when this happens, you wonder what you did wrong. You are filled with frustration, anxiety, and fear. You believe that everything collapsed despite having done the right thing. Control is an illusion. Nothing in life is completely predictable. We think we can ensure everything follows a certain order, but reality flows at its own pace. The problem is that your mind craves certainty. It wants guarantees. It wants to control every outcome, and when it doesn't have them, it panics. Imagine this scene. A king with 3 advisors. He asks them why life is so unpredictable. The first says, "It's all a matter of luck." The second claims it all depends on previous decisions. The third takes him to a river and asks him to try to stop the water with his hands. No matter how hard he tries, he can't. The water keeps flowing. Then the advisor tells him, "Life is like this river. You can try to stop it, but it's impossible. The only real option is to learn to go with the flow." Suffering arises when you cling to the idea that everything must be exactly as you imagine it. You believe you'll only be happy if you achieve a certain goal, if you maintain certain conditions, if everything falls into place according to your plan. But reality doesn't work that way. When you let go of that need for absolute control, you experience immense liberation. This doesn't mean you should stop acting or give up on your goals. It means understanding that you can't force the outcome. Do your best, but accept that the result doesn't always depend on you. Trusting the flow of life isn't resignation. It's learning to accept what comes without resistance. It doesn't mean giving up on your dreams, but rather letting go of clinging to a single way of achieving them. What seems like a loss may be an opportunity in disguise. A door that closes might be preventing you from entering a place that wasn't meant for you. An obstacle might be redirecting you toward a better path. But if you're too busy trying to force the impossible, you won't see those signs. But disc spice, instead of pushing against the current, learn to move with it. Instead of wasting energy fighting the inevitable, adjust your pace and keep going. When you trust that life is taking you where you need to be, anxiety disappears. You stop obsessing about the future and begin to live calmly in the present. Accept that there will be uncertainty. Don't see it as a threat. See it as a natural part of the journey. Reflect. Remember times when something didn't go as planned, but you later discovered it was the best thing that could have happened. Perhaps a relationship that ended opened up space for something more authentic. Perhaps a failure revealed a new skill. Perhaps an unexpected change opened a door you didn't even know existed. When you let go of the illusion of control, you stop living in fear. Instead of obsessively worrying about everything being perfect, you learn to trust that whatever happens, you can handle it. And although not everything will be easy, you will discover that you can find peace even in the midst of uncertainty. Life is not something you should control. It is something you must learn to live. And when you stop fighting against its natural flow, you find a serenity that once seemed unattainable. Chapter 12. Without loss, there is no evolution. How letting go makes us freer. People, places, moments, emotions. Everything changes. Everything transforms. Yet, you cling to what you know because it gives you security. You want love to last forever, success to remain constant, happiness to never slip away. But life doesn't work that way. True freedom appears only when you accept that nothing is eternal and allow yourself to let go. The fear of loss is one of the greatest sources of suffering. You are terrified to imagine the absence of those you love. It hurts to leave important stages behind, and you struggle to accept that nothing remains unchanged. But think about it. What if you viewed loss as an opportunity for growth instead of a punishment? Imagine a snake that never sheds its skin. It would become rigid, unable to move forward. The same is true for you. If you don't learn to let go of what no longer serves you, you stagnate. Life always pushes forward. And often it does so by taking away something you thought was essential. Think of a glass. You know that one day it will break, sooner or later. If you acknowledge this beforehand, you enjoy it more while it lasts. That's the key. To intensely value what you have today because you know it won't last forever. It's not about loving less. It's about loving better. Attachment makes you live in fear. Fear of losing a relationship. Fear of success fading away. Fear of everything changing. That fear steals your present. The person who fears loss is already suffering before anything even disappears. When you learn to let go, you regain immense freedom. You find a peace that nothing and no one can destroy. It doesn't mean ceasing to love or to strive. It means doing so without chains, without demanding permanence, without clinging to anything. Detachment gives you clarity. It allows you to recognize when a person or situation has fulfilled its purpose in your life. If someone walks away, perhaps their mission is over. Feeling sadness is human, of course it is. But when you understand that loss is part of the process, pain transforms into acceptance, and acceptance into freedom. Try this exercise. Observe what things or people you keep close simply out of fear. Ask yourself, am I clinging out of love or fear? Does this attachment bring me peace or suffering? What would happen if I stopped trying to control things? Often, when you let go, life surprises you. What seemed like an ending becomes a doorway. What seemed like loss, a new beginning. Detachment doesn't mean losing interest in life. It means living more lightly. It allows you to enjoy without fear, to love without possessiveness, to accept change with serenity. Because deep down, you don't really lose anything. Life is simply inviting you to move forward. Chapter 13. The Signs of Life. How to learn to read what the world is telling you. Sometimes, life seems to speak to you. An unexpected event, a strange coincidence, a person who appears at just the right moment. But often you ignore these signs because you're too busy trying to control your path, or because you believe it's all just chance. However, nothing happens by chance. Everything that happens has a meaning, even if you don't see it immediately. Signs aren't magic messages or prophecies, but natural responses that emerge from the very movement of life. Every action generates a reaction. Every experience opens a path. Every stumble teaches something. What you call signs are reflections of the deep connection between you and your surroundings. Imagine you make an important decision. Soon after, you begin to notice patterns. Someone says something that resonates with what you're going through. A book comes into your hands and contains the answer you needed. An opportunity arises just when you were about to give up. Coincidence? Or is life showing you a path? The point is, these signs are always there, but you can only see them if you learn to observe. You need inner silence, less noise, less fear. Then, what seemed like chance becomes direction. Shazan, the signs of the universe, how to learn to read what life is telling us. Is it just coincidence, or is life showing you the way? Think about how you know spring is coming. Flowers bloom, the air gets warmer, the birds sing. You don't need anyone to explain it to you. Nature speaks for itself. Likewise, life speaks to you. It sends you signs every day. But to see them, you must learn to silence the internal noise. As long as your mind is filled with worries and fears, you will be unable to notice what is right in front of you. One of the clearest signs life gives you is the resistance or fluidity of what is happening. If everything feels forced, full of obstacles and tension, perhaps it's not the right path. On the other hand, when things flow naturally, when the right people appear at the right time, it indicates that you are aligned with what you are meant to experience. Another powerful sign is repetition. If the same message arrives through different channels, if the same problem appears again and again, don't ignore it. There is a lesson there that you haven't yet learned. Ask yourself firmly, what is this situation teaching me? Many times, what you consider an obstacle today reveals itself tomorrow as a hidden gift. What hurts now may be what's pushing you to grow. A practical exercise. Write in a journal about the unexpected things that happen in your life and reflect on their meaning. Observe patterns. Look for answers that may have always been right in front of you. Reading life's signs doesn't mean blindly depending on them, but rather using them as an inner compass. When you stop fighting against what happens and learn to listen, you discover a clearer, lighter path, full of purpose. Nothing is a coincidence. Everything that comes to you has a meaning. You just need to learn to look closely. 14. Serenity in the face of the unexpected. How to find peace in uncertainty. Life is full of unexpected turns. One day everything seems stable, and the next everything changes. You lose a job, a relationship ends, a challenge appears that you never anticipated. Uncertainty is an inevitable part of existence, but most people try to fight against it. We seek security, control, certainty, and we become frustrated because the only constant is change. Peace isn't found in eliminating uncertainty, but in learning to live with it without fear. Imagine you're in a boat in the middle of the ocean. If you try to stop the waves, you'll only exhaust yourself. But if you learn to move with them, to flow instead of resisting, you'll discover that you can navigate even turbulent waters. Uncertainty is like that sea. You can't stop its movement, but you can learn to travel on it with confidence. Accepting what you don't control doesn't mean giving up or being indifferent. It means letting go of fear. Fear arises when you believe you can't handle what's coming. But remember, up until now, you've overcome absolutely everything life has thrown your way. Why not trust that you'll continue to do so? The unexpected often brings opportunities you would never have considered if everything had gone according to plan. A simple exercise. Ask yourself how many times something that seemed like a problem ended up being a blessing. Ask yourself if you really need all the answers right now. Ask yourself if you're sacrificing the present by obsessing over a future that doesn't yet exist. Life is a constant flow, and resisting it only multiplies suffering. Accepting uncertainty doesn't mean abandoning your desires or ceasing to act, but rather trusting that whatever happens, you'll find a way to move forward. Peace isn't about having all the answers, but about living with the questions. It's not about knowing what will happen tomorrow, but about trusting your ability to face it when it arrives. When you learn to let go of the fear of the future, you find immense freedom. You stop worrying about what you don't know and begin to fully live in the present. 15. The path to enlightenment. As each event brings us closer to awakening, throughout your life, you will face experiences that challenge you, transform you, and force you to question your very existence. There will be moments of chaos, instants that seem to make no sense. You will wonder why certain things happen, why there is suffering, why life insists on putting you through such difficult trials. But every event, even the most painful, is an opportunity to awaken to a new vision of yourself. Awakening is not a mystical state, nor a privilege reserved for a select few. Awakening is simply seeing reality clearly, without the distortions of fear, without the chains of attachment, without the burden of resistance. It is living with full awareness, understanding that every experience is part of your evolution. Imagine your life as a large jigsaw puzzle. While you are in the midst of an experience, a piece may seem out of place, illogical. But over time, when you observe the complete picture, you understand that each piece fit together to take you where you needed to be. Inner clarity is simply the ability to see reality without filters, without the noise of fear, dependency, or resistance. It's living with full awareness, understanding that every experience, pleasant or painful, is part of your growth. Imagine that every event in your life is a piece of a giant puzzle. As you go through the situation, that piece may seem absurd, out of place, meaningless. But over time, when you see the complete picture, you discover that it fit perfectly to take you exactly where you needed to be. Think of a traveler who gets lost in mountain fog. At first, they feel fear and despair. Adrift, they could have succumbed to panic. But they chose to move forward step by step. And with each step, the fog dissipated, until finally they could see clearly. That's how life works. Answers don't appear all at once. Clarity comes little by little if you trust and keep moving forward. Every challenge, every loss, every moment of confusion is not a punishment. It's part of the path that forces you to awaken. You're not here to avoid pain, but to learn from it, to turn it into fuel for your transformation. When you look at what happens to you with the attitude of a learner and not with the gaze of a victim, everything changes. Instead of asking yourself, "Why is this happening to me?" dare to ask, "What can I learn from this?" Every obstacle becomes a lesson. Every fall, an opportunity to grow. Every change, a door that opens to something greater. The problem is that we often live on autopilot. You let yourself be swept along by routine, by what others expect, by fears and worries. You forget to stop, to look inward, to ask yourself if you're truly living in accordance with who you are. Inner awakening doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, a gradual advancement. And every experience you go through is a new opportunity to take another step. So, take a moment each day and ask yourself, am I living mindfully, or am I just surviving? Am I reacting from fear or from trust? What is this situation revealing about me? Clarity doesn't always appear in the extraordinary. It often comes in the simplest things. In the silence of the morning, in the calm of a deep breath, in the decision to accept what is without resistance. Clarity isn't a distant destination, but a way of living. It's the ability to see the world with fewer constraints and more lucidity. When you understand this, you stop fighting against life. You stop resisting the inevitable and begin to flow. True peace isn't born from avoiding pain, but from transcending it, from recognizing in every experience an opportunity for growth. The path to clarity is personal. There is no single right path, no final point where everything is resolved at once. Each day, each trial, each stumble is an opportunity to awaken a little more, to see more clearly, and to live with more peace. Clarity isn't outside, waiting for you somewhere. It's already within you, waiting for you to open your eyes and dare to discover it. Look back. There were moments in your life that seemed unfair, chaotic, impossible to understand. And today you know they were necessary for you to get here. Life has a perfect flow, even if we don't always understand it at the time. At this stage, we're going to take another step. We'll not only explore why everything happens for a reason, but also how your own evolution impacts those around you. Because you don't live in isolation. Every decision you make, even the smallest, generates ripples that reach others. Chapter 16. Have you ever stopped to consider the true purpose of everything you go through? Don't run away. Stay with me until the end. What you discover today might completely change your perspective on life. Imagine throwing a stone into a lake. The ripples don't stay in one place. They spread out, touching everything in their path. That's how your life works. Nothing you do is irrelevant. Every word, every decision, every gesture alters the course of everything around you. Think about those moments when you met the right person at the perfect time, or when an unexpected turn of events opened a door you never imagined. It wasn't blind luck. It was the result of an invisible web of cause and effect that connects your story to the stories of others. Nothing exists in isolation. A tree doesn't grow on its own. It needs soil, water, sun, and air. A river doesn't decide its course alone. It's shaped by the rain, the terrain, the force of gravity. You too don't exist in isolation. Your life is interwoven with family, friends, opportunities, even the strangers you encounter. When you accept this truth, your perspective shifts. You stop thinking solely about my problem, my success, my loss. You begin to see that your experiences are part of something larger. What you give to others, what you leave in the world, what you learn and share contributes to a balance that extends far beyond you. Imagine lighting a candle and holding its flame to another that's unlit. The second one ignites instantly. This is how your actions work. Every gesture, every word can ignite or extinguish something in the lives of others. Your light isn't just for you. What you give to the world, in one way or another, returns. That's why your decisions matter. Your words can inspire or wound. Your thoughts can nourish or destroy you. Your emotions can sow calm or spread chaos. And you're not only responsible for what you project, but also for what you allow into you. If you spend too much time surrounded by complaints, anxiety, and resentment, those energies will inevitably leave their mark. But if you choose to cultivate gratitude, empathy, and serenity, you create a healthier, lighter, more humane environment. This web of connections also explains why certain people come into your life and why some situations seem to repeat themselves. Nothing happens in isolation. Every encounter, every challenge is a piece of a larger puzzle that pushes you to learn what you haven't yet understood. Want to put this into practice? Keep it simple. Observe the impact of your daily actions. Perform an act of kindness and watch it multiply. Reflect on your past decisions and how they shaped your life today. Ask yourself what kind of energy you are sowing with what you think, say, and do. When you stop seeing yourself as an isolated being and understand that you are part of a vast network of connections, your perspective changes. You act with more intention. You speak more carefully. You live with more purpose, because nothing you do is lost. Everything leaves a mark on you and on those around you. And the moment you understand this, life ceases to be a series of random events and reveals itself for what it truly is, a profound harmony that unites everything. Chapter 17. You often think that your happiness depends on what happens outside. You believe that when you get a promotion, when you have the right partner, or the stability you so desperately seek, then you will finally feel peace. But the reality is different. What you see outside is nothing more than a reflection of what you carry inside. If your inner self is disordered, what you perceive will be too. It's like looking in a mirror. If your face is dirty, cleaning the glass won't do any good. You need to clean yourself. Life works the same way. You spend years trying to change external circumstances without realizing that the root of your dissatisfaction lies in your own perception. If your mind is dominated by anxiety, everything will seem chaotic. If you hold on to resentment, you'll see conflict everywhere. If you cultivate calm, what used to upset you will cease to do so. Reality remains the same, but how you experience it changes with you. Instead of asking yourself, "Why is this happening to me?" ask yourself another question. What part of me needs to transform so I can see this situation differently? Problems don't magically disappear, but your relationship with them can change. Think of this image. A king wanted to cover all his land with leather so that no one would walk on sharp stones. A wise man suggested something simpler, covering only his feet. That's how sandals were born. That's the key. You can't transform everything around you, but you can transform the way you walk through life. When you begin to work on your inner self, the energy you project changes, and that impacts your relationships, your opportunities, and what you attract. If you stop seeking validation from others and begin to accept yourself, you'll notice how the way they treat you also changes. If you abandon complaining and focus on solutions, life responds with more possibilities. You see it every day. If you enter a conversation filled with anger, you'll most likely receive aggression. If you enter with understanding, the reaction will be different. The outside world reflects your inner world. A powerful exercise is to stop in front of each problem and ask yourself, am I reacting from fear or from confidence? Am I trying to change what's outside when I really need to change what's inside? Can I look at this situation from another perspective? When you transform your mind, the world has no choice but to reflect that change. Challenges will still be present, but you will no longer see them as enemies, but as opportunities for growth. You can't control everything that happens outside, but you can always choose how to respond. And when you change the way you look at life, life begins to change before your eyes. Chapter 18. Along your path, you meet many people. Some stay with you for years. Others appear for just a moment. Some arrive with love. Others confront you with pain. Some lift you up. Others test you. But no one enters or leaves your life without a reason. Every encounter has a purpose. Sometimes you cling to relationships that no longer contribute anything simply because you grew accustomed to their presence. Other times, you suffer when someone leaves, without realizing that, although their time with you has ended, the mark they left will remain. People are not always meant to stay, but they all leave a lesson. Some show you the meaning of unconditional support. Others force you to discover your strength by confronting emptiness. Even those who hurt you awaken within you the opportunity to know yourself better. Remember, no one crosses your path by accident. And when you accept that, you stop seeing goodbyes as losses and begin to see them as completed chapters. What matters is not how long they last, but what they leave in you. Nothing is by chance. People come into your life with a purpose, even if you don't always understand it at the time. They don't stay forever, because not everyone is meant to. Some appear to ignite a spark, to open a path for you, to show you a part of yourself that you needed to acknowledge. And when they fulfill that role, they leave. Every encounter leaves a mark. There are those who teach you to love unconditionally. Others force you to set firm boundaries. Some awaken the best in you. Others confront you with your shadows so you can learn to master them. Even those who hurt you hold up a mirror reflecting what you still need to work on. If you look back honestly, you'll see. A friend who left may have taught you the value of trust. A failed relationship may have shown you what you want and don't want in a partner. A betrayal may have forced you to toughen your character and strengthen your spirit. Remember too that you fulfill this role in the lives of others. A word of encouragement, a piece of advice given at the right moment, even a goodbye, can ignite a profound change in another human being. You, too, leave marks, even if you're not aware of them. Accepting that some people were only meant to be around for a while sets you free. It helps you let go of attachment and stop fighting the inevitable. Don't ask, why did they leave? Ask yourself, what did they leave me with? Don't get stuck in nostalgia. Be grateful for what that person meant on your journey. Try this exercise. Think of someone who is no longer in your life, but was important. Ask yourself what you learned from their presence. What part of you changed because of them? If you focus your attention on the lesson and not the loss, you will find peace. Nothing and no one lasts forever, but the impact of each person does remain. And when you embrace this truth, you experience your relationships with more freedom, gratitude, and awareness. Chapter 19. When something repeats itself, it's because we haven't learned. There are experiences that return again and again like an echo. Relationships that always end the same way. Problems that repeat themselves in different forms. Behaviors you carry with you without realizing it. And every time history returns, the feeling is the same. I'm trapped in a cycle with no way out. But it's not a punishment. It's a lesson you haven't yet grasped. Every repetition is an opportunity. If you don't learn, life persists. It's like school. If you fail the exam, you repeat it until you master the subject. Think of someone who always ends up in toxic relationships. They break up with one partner, soon find another, and the cycle of suffering repeats itself. It's not bad luck, it's a sign. As long as they don't understand what they need to change, perhaps learning to set boundaries, healing old wounds, ceasing to seek validation, where it isn't, they will continue repeating the same script. Life speaks to you through these cycles. If something happens again, ask yourself what lesson you're overlooking. Don't run away. Don't blame fate or others. Look within yourself. Change the pattern. Only then will the wheel stop spinning in the same place, and you can move on to a new stage. Perhaps you blame others, circumstances, or even chance. However, if you look honestly enough, you'll discover that the root of the problem isn't always outside, but within you. You may not have learned to set boundaries yet. You may still be stuck in childhood patterns. Or perhaps you're still seeking approval from others, instead of building your own worth. Imagine you're holding a bowl. You dip it into a river, and the water that enters is the same as what's already there. The river doesn't adapt to the bowl. The bowl fills with what was already in it. That's how your life is. What you carry inside attracts the same thing, over and over again, until you dare to change the contents. That's the key. Stop asking yourself, why does this keep happening to me? And start asking yourself, what is this showing me about myself? Many adults repeat the same cycles for years. Toxic relationships, repeated failures in the same areas, a constant feeling of emptiness, the impression of being trapped in the same kind of problem. Breaking these patterns isn't easy. It requires courage. It requires confronting yourself. Your mind clings to the familiar, even when it hurts. That's why you keep falling into the same traps without realizing it. But the moment you become aware, the instant you decide to face it head-on, a possibility of acting differently opens up. Try it. Write down the situations that repeat themselves in your life. Look for what they have in common. Ask yourself, what emotion always arises? How did I react in the past? What can I do differently now? This exercise is brutally revealing. It shows you what you were avoiding seeing. Life isn't punishing you. If something comes back, it's because you haven't yet learned what you need to. When you finally understand the lesson, the cycle breaks. And then a new stage begins. Nothing happens by chance. Even what seems like an obstacle is an opportunity for evolution. Every repetition is not a sentence, but a second chance to awaken. Chapter 20. Many spend their lives searching for their purpose as if it were a treasure hidden in some corner of the world. They ask books, experts, external voices, hoping for an answer that will tell them why they are here and what they should do. But purpose doesn't arrive like a flash of light. It doesn't appear suddenly. It reveals itself little by little along the very path of your life. No one is here by accident. Each person, with their unique story, has a role to play. Purpose isn't always clear from the start. Sometimes you discover it amidst uncertainty, when everything you took for granted crumbles. Other times you see it only when you look back and recognize that even the hardest moments pushed you right to where you are today. The mistake is thinking that purpose is something external. An ideal job, a unique calling, a grand mission. No, purpose is hidden in the simple things. In the way you live each day, in how you act, in the impact you have on others through what you do now. Remember this. Your purpose isn't revealed in a solemn speech, but in everyday action, in a gesture of care toward your family, in work done with dedication, in the way you choose to be present. The meaning of your life isn't a future goal. It's here, in how you sweep your own floor each day. When you clean, clean. When you eat, eat. When you walk, walk. It seems obvious, but behind this simplicity lies a powerful truth. Your purpose is in the present, in what's in front of you, in doing it with all your energy and all your presence. It's not in a distant goal. It's not hidden in a grandiose title, nor in an uncertain future. It's in the attitude with which you live each moment. How many times has life forced you in a different direction? Losing a job, going through a separation. At the time, it seemed like a low blow. But later you discovered a different path, a new interest, a dormant facet of yourself. Nothing is accidental. Nothing is wasted. Every experience, even the smallest, is a clue to a deeper understanding of who you are and what you can contribute. Stop comparing yourself. Not everyone will leave their mark with grand achievements. Some will do so with words, others with silence, others with everyday gestures that change more than they realize. Everyone has their own rhythm, their own unique way of contributing. Your task is to identify what makes you feel alive. Ask yourself, when do I feel completely fulfilled? What activities connect me with myself without expecting applause? How can I add value today with what I know and who I am? Purpose is not static. Evolve with yourself. Today it may be learning, tomorrow teaching, today healing, tomorrow helping others heal. Don't chase your purpose as if it were a trophy at the end of the road. Recognize it here, now, in how you live each day. And when you stop desperately searching for it and dare to live with full awareness, you will realize that it was always there, waiting for you. Chapter 21. Spiritual Crises. When life forces us to awaken, there are moments when everything falls apart. What once motivated you ceases to make sense. What seemed secure shatters, and an uncomfortable emptiness settles in. This emptiness doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to force you to see life with different eyes. It is a forced awakening, a crisis that doesn't warn you, that cuts comfort off at the root and confronts you with the inevitable: change. Crises appear when you stray too far from yourself, when you ignore for too long what you already knew deep down. Life doesn't tolerate perpetual disconnection, and when it decides to wake you up, it does so by taking away what you took for granted. That job, that relationship, that routine that seemed secure. Suddenly, they're useless. And then the ground opens up. Don't see it as an end. It's a beginning. The beginning of a necessary transformation. The problem is that most people cling on. They want to go back, recover what's been lost, fight against what no longer fits. But the more you fight, the more it hurts. The only way out is to go through the crisis, not deny it. Accept that the change has already begun. Look back. The toughest crises were also the ones that made you grow the most. They forced you to let go of useless burdens, to face uncomfortable truths, to discover a strength you never imagined you had. Confusion is part of the journey. Pain is part of rebirth. Discomfort is a sign that you're shedding an old skin to inhabit a new one. When you stop resisting, liberation arrives. What seemed like a loss becomes relief. What seemed like punishment reveals itself as preparation. Nothing stays the same. And when life pushes you to the edge, it doesn't do it to punish you. It does it to remind you that you have wings. Transformation is never comfortable, but it's always necessary. You know this. You've experienced losses, unexpected changes, sharp turns that seemed unfair. And yet, here you are. The secret isn't in resisting, but in surrendering to what already is. To stop fighting against life and start trusting that, even if you don't understand it now, every piece has its place. We spend much of our time arguing with reality. We want others to act differently. We wish the past had been different. We obsess over what might come. And in the midst of that battle, we forget the only thing that's real. This moment. Gratitude and surrender are not signs of weakness. They are tests of courage. It's not about surrendering in the sense of giving up, but about letting go of the need to control everything. When you stop arguing with reality and learn to trust, you discover an unexpected calm. Gratitude isn't just saying thanks when everything is going well. It's finding value even in setbacks. Every challenge brings a lesson. Every loss opens up a space. Every moment, however simple it may seem, is a gift that you often overlook. Surrender is the next step. It doesn't mean resigning yourself, but trusting that life places you exactly where you need to be. What seemed like an obstacle, in time, reveals itself as a redirection. What seemed like a loss becomes liberation. Practicing gratitude and surrender means ceasing to live at war with what happens. You accept what comes without resistance. You act when it's time, and you trust that beyond your immediate understanding, everything has a purpose. Don't wait for everything to be perfect to feel peace. Peace arrives when you stop demanding that life be different and decide to see it with new eyes. When you give thanks, when you let go, life surprises you with paths you never imagined. After all, there's a truth that unites every experience. Life always happens here and now. What you seek, peace, meaning, purpose, isn't in what has already happened or in what is yet to come. It's in this very moment. The problem is that the mind is trapped between memories and worries. It tells you that something is missing, that you're not ready yet, that you need to resolve 1,000 things before feeling complete. But the truth is different. You already have what you need. You just don't see it because you're not present. Life is constant change, like a river that never stops. If you cling to the past or obsess over the future, it's like trying to stop the water with your hands. You miss the chance to feel its freshness the moment you touch it. Nothing we talk about makes sense if you don't learn to be present. Gratitude, surrender, acceptance, purpose. It all starts here, in the now. You can't change the past or control the future, but you can decide how you live this moment. And by doing so, everything begins to align. There is no final destination, no single answer to all your questions. Life isn't about arriving somewhere, but about walking each step with awareness. Stop searching outside and dare to look within. Discover that you've always been in the exact place you needed to be. That's the power of returning to the present, the only place where everything makes sense.